In this week's episode, we welcome Manti Grobler.
Where I discovered this intersect between technology and human development.
Manti is a doctor. She's the second doctor we're having on Intentionality with Paul Kempff.
And the intention is never to box yourself and to stay there to think, I am this. You are so much more than that.
Manti is not only a doctor, she's a coach, a life coach, specializing in integral coaching.
All in all, it's 18 months of intensive coaching training that gives you the foundation of really working with the whole person.
Manti is a Enneagram practitioner.
The Enneagram as a system gives you 9 ways of looking at yourself.
And Manti is also a lecturer at various universities across South Africa.
So we're always unfolding, and there's always something more.
You're listening to Intentionality with Paul Kempff. A very warm welcome to our new studio and to Intentionality with Paul Kempff. And I'm so thankful, so grateful, so privileged that you said yes. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for challenging me, Paul. It's not it's my first one, so I'm happy to share this moment with you as doing something for the first time and following the proverbial white rabbit down the rabbit hole.
Okay, you opened it up, so we got to talk about it. You've got a beautiful white rabbit here on your shoulder. Tell us a bit more about that white rabbit, because all I'm thinking is the Matrix.
Yes, well, my inspiration for the white rabbit comes from Alice in Wonderland, and I often associate with that sense of following a thought or following an idea or some creative spark down that rabbit hole and see where it leads me. That's something that often happens in my life when I say yes for something and then figure it out. So that's just why I really relate to following the rabbit.
Love it. And I mean, that white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland made an appearance in The Matrix.
Yes.
I mean, in that very first movie, Neo is told to follow the white rabbit.
Yes.
And then when he opens the door, the white rabbit is there in the form of a tattoo. But I think it comes from Alice in Wonderland.
Where else?
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Manti, tell us a little bit about what you actually do.
What I currently do mostly is coaching and teaching, and that intersect between the two often blends. So I'm very lucky to be able to teach at various business schools like Wits Business School. And I also have a module in a master's program at Pretoria University. So I still kind of flow between different worlds, different worlds of my background is in technology, in information technology. And I built on that career of working in IT into then finding my way to human development.
Wonderful. You said you didn't want to talk about coaching the whole time, but let's just go to the teaching part. What do you teach? What do you give classes in?
Again, I think that's part of my Alice in Wonderland moments down the rabbit hole, that I said yes to new ideas and new opportunities. So I found myself currently building on that foundation of working in IT, of all things, where I discovered this intersect between technology and human development. And that has led me to coaching, which we can also explore. But building on that, I now teach things like creative problem solving, focusing on design thinking and human-centered systems thinking, as well as then kind of going more towards the human development side, emotional maturity, personal development, personal leadership, and everything in between.
You see, that's why we related at that lunch that we had. All those topics that you talk about, those are things that we talk about regularly here on IWPK, things that I love exploring. You gave me the permission now to quickly just, let's say, explore the coaching side of it. In our preparation that we had for this episode, you used a specific word around coaching. You talked about integral coaching. Explain to me what that is.
We are mysteries, and integral coaching gives us a way of looking at my identity, like who I am. If you think about 3 concentric circles, So if you think of the inner circle as the I, who am I, my identity, how I relate to myself, and we link that, if we look at emotional maturity models, that is your self-awareness and your self-management, all around that inner circle. And then looking at the circle around that is in integral, it's called the we, the other. And that talks about my relationships. How do I relate to other people? Do I see myself as separate from, as apart from me, me against the world kind of thinking? Or can I see myself as a part of, connected, integral, or integrated into with others? And then outside of that, the third circle is in my context, my environment, the world. What is my view of the world? Do I see the world as a friendly place or a place that I need to live in fear? And just how I engage with that context. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes a
Paul.
lot of sense. I like it. I like the idea of integrated coaching.
Yeah.
I think it's a topic for a whole podcast. But I think the one thing I like the most is this talk about how we're a mystery.
Oh, yes.
And I think obviously you might be a mystery to me, or in the same way as my wife is always a mystery to me. But I think we're also sometimes a mystery to ourselves.
Yes.
I don't think we always understand why we behave in certain ways, why we have certain habits, why we can't change certain things in our lives, even though we want to, even though we try and be intentional about it. And I've always found incredible value in going to somebody else to give you an external perspective on yourself.
Yes.
Somebody that can look at you a little bit differently than how you look at yourself and almost guide you through coaching in finding the answers, solving that mystery that you are also sometimes to yourself. I don't know if you agree with that.
I love that. I would just challenge you on that use of solving. That's part of the mystery. I think we can get glimpses of who we, of elements of ourselves, aspects of ourselves. But we're always unfolding, and there's always something more, something else deliciously to explore about yourself. So I don't ever want to be solved. For me, the realization and the acceptance of the mystery is actually a sense of freedom and a sense of, okay, now I can continue to explore. I don't have to arrive. The Enneagram is something that I use for that purpose.
Okay, but hold on. Park the Enneagram for a moment, because we now got into the interesting part of this interview. We got into the meat of this interview. And I'm going to ask you a few things about what you said and see if I can't get a free coaching session thrown in here. Because you spoke about me using the word solving and the fact that maybe we can never solve it completely. I think that might be part of the problem. I'm trying to solve the mystery of my marriage and my wife and get an answer, and from there everything must be right. I'm trying to solve the mystery of me and what makes me tick and what makes me do things in a certain way. But maybe that's the problem. It's that pursuit of trying to find the 100% answer or the 100% solving of the mystery. Maybe I should move away from that whole idea of trying to solve everything, trying to find the answer to everything.
And the beauty of that mystery and the curiosity that we can find in just saying, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what that might mean, or I wonder what I can see about myself in this discomfort that I'm experiencing. So it's forever that almost that dance that we have in life with, if we stop resisting and if we stop trying to fix things or solve things, that's just perfect the way it is.
I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the FFG Group of Companies. Take another step into living a more intentional life by being more intentional with your finances and insurance. As a trusted provider of a wide range of financial services, the FFG Group offers innovative, tailored solutions that help companies and individuals thrive and flourish. They are an amazing company that I believe in because they embody intentionality in everything they do, and I'm proud to partner with them. FFG is an authorized financial services provider. Ready to take the next step? Click the link below and start making better, more intentional financial decisions, or visit their website. Remember, with FFG, you create the memories, we ensure the journey.
You and I said we're going to spend some time talking about the Enneagram. You've already brought it up. I'm fascinated by the Enneagram. I have done it myself, some significant analysis around it. But tell me a little bit more about the Enneagram and how you use it and what you do with it.
I think when I start speaking about the Enneagram, the best way I like to position it is to think about it as a model that acts as both a mirror, that we can have that glimpse of recognition about ourselves, like that helps us to see things in a way that we can make peace with the description or that way of looking at yourself. And it gives us a map to say, well, why don't you go on a treasure hunt and discover more about yourself? Perhaps how to use that as a map to say, well, if I found myself in this preference of where I am right now, in one of the Enneagram types, the intention is never to box yourself and to stay there to think, I am this, because you are so much more than that. And one of my favorite quotes related to the Enneagram is from the teacher Ross Hudson, who says that the Enneagram is not intended to box you, but it's intended to show you the box that you place yourself in and how to get out of it. So that journey with the Enneagram, that realization that we have all of those 9 types are part of us. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this. I've done my Enneagram analysis.
Yeah.
I found a lot of insight in going through that exercise and understanding better, as you say, not just your fears, but what makes you tick. Why do you act in certain ways? I found the Enneagram exercise very valuable. If people are listening and they're interested in taking this journey with the Enneagram, what's your suggestion? What do they do? Is it something we can maybe post on the socials after the episode? Is there websites they have to go there? Do they contact you? Let's give people a way of engaging with this Enneagram. What do you suggest?
I love working with people on the Enneagram and using it as a tool to help people to see and navigate, right? That's the 2 sides of it.
Yeah.
But there's so much information available about the Enneagram on the internet. So if a person is curious, Google is your friend. Or even nowadays with AI, if you know, what is your AI of choice? Mine is Claude. I don't know. But
I'm still on ChatGPT.
ChatGPT or Claude. If you just go and engage with AI and ask about the Enneagram and start that conversation through the AI, it's going to give you such a wealth of information. And then when the time is right and you feel that you want to go on a coaching journey, then reach out.
Fantastic. Production team, make a note after the episode. Let's have a discussion with Manti about what we're going to put on the channels, what we're going to put on the social media, what might be able to put on the website. The podcast and YouTube channel is called Intentionality with Paul Kempff. We've got to say something about intentionality. Is there anything you do in your life on like a daily basis or weekly or monthly basis in an intentional way that helps you to be who you are, to be successful, to be happy? Anything you can share?
Yes, I think part of being coach has also made me do things in a much more intentional way. The 5 W's for me is quite important. So the first one is I have a walking practice. And I know exercise is very important, and we always recommend some form of physical exercise connecting to your body. And then the second one is writing. So writing for me is a life saver. Oh, I don't know. That's maybe another topic for another day. But the art of reflection, I think that is so important. And then meditation. So I call it my waiting for to literally quiet down and wait. And then the last two is wisdom is extremely important for me, and a wisdom practice or connecting to the inner wisdom, anything around back to the mystery of life, right? And how I engage with content or with that reflection activities of connecting with wisdom. And then the last one is wonder.
I love the way that you've framed that around 5 W's. I relate, but I've never thought of those 5 W's. For me, walking, I run, so it's a R, but absolutely, it's the same thing. Writing, for me, it's journaling, so I would have said a J, because I do try and journal. The meditation part I struggle with. But the one thing that I have tried to do is just to, in moments of stress, in moments where you feel yourself reacting to something, not in the way that you want to react, just to breathe. You've mentioned the breathing, so I think that's the waiting. Wisdom, that's a huge philosophy for me. It's continuous learning. And then the fifth one, as you said, wonder, which I see as gratitude and reflection. So, all of these things are things we've spoken about before on WPK, but I love the way you've taken it and you've framed it around 5 W's. That is awesome. Thanks, Manti. Last thing, let's end off, as always, with all episodes in IWPK with a tip of the week, a recommendation, which I normally give, but I love it if my guests can do it. Do you have any last tip of the week for our listeners and our viewers?
And it's just something that really is so meaningful to me as well, is have your own personal playlist, music. Now, music is something that is just such a mood changer. And I think a lot of people forget to use music in a sense of either explaining or describing how they feel, engaging with your emotions in that sense, or just recognize what's going on in your life by creating your own playlist of the soundtrack of your life.
I love it. Soundtrack of your life and intentional in your enjoyment. The episode I did, I think 3 weeks ago, called The Power of Intentional Fun, I think talks about that. There must be intentionality in your fun and your enjoyment as well.
I subscribe. Yeah.
Wonderful. Manti, this was awesome. I don't know what you were nervous about. You're a natural. I thoroughly enjoyed our discussion. I think there's a lot of value in there. I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Paul.
So that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again in a week.
Thanks for watching Intentionality with Paul Kempff. Subscribe, like, and click that bell to get notified when we release more episodes on how to live a life of intention and purpose.